So as a woman with religious convictions who, it sounds like you will never get divorced, or at least you have that.
God willing, I really hope not. That sounds horrible. It's my worst nightmare.
By your own choice, can you confidently say you will never get divorced after getting married?
I mean,
as long as
I
he
don't know
doesn't
if you
cheat
can
or
say,
beat you or anything like that.
Yeah, if nothing goes wrong in the marriage, I think there's always hard times in marriages. I would absolutely stay committed. I'm a very loyal person, but I think it's also like you plan and God laughs in that sense of like, I have this dream of what I would like. I would love to be like my grandparents, married for 70 years since you're young, committed, beautiful children, generations. But it also is a messed up world, and I am a realist in that sense. And I know that things come in, but if it was just like, I don't like him anymore, no, I wouldn't divorce him.
Okay. So like everybody has a dream about how their marriage is going to go. Everybody wants to live happily ever after and like have just the best marriage of all time. The fairy tale. Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people fall on hard times, right? Like, let's imagine, you said that you like strong masculine men and you want a man who is strong enough to actually lead you. Let's say you marry a man and you guys fall on hard times. Like, I don't know, maybe he gets paralyzed. Maybe some terrible accident happens and his nuts get chopped off. And like all of a sudden his body has stopped producing testosterone and he stops being like the vital, strong man that he was when you married him. And you guys fall in tough times. Like in a situation like that, would you stay with him? Let's say those hard times, that they're going to last for years.
Well, according to her, she literally cannot.
No, you can. You can say, I want a divorce, but your husband has to give you the contract that says you're officially divorced, because otherwise you can't get remarried.
Oh, so you can just continue nagging him and being a pain in his ass until he does grant you the divorce.
There's a lot of problems
Sounds
with it.
like a great
No, there's a lot of problems in the community where the communities will help shun guys who don't give gets to people because it's abusive.
Okay, so fine.
Okay, but hold on.
Well,
there's societal pressure. Marriage is not between
like
just two individuals and God. There's also important. Marriage, the basis of marriage is to have children, and society needs to encourage
I want an answer to my question.
I
want an answer to my question.
Yes.
In a situation like that where you guys fall on hard times and he stops being the man that you married, you made this commitment before God. Would you stick to it? Leave his, like him potentially wanting to get divorced out of the equation. Let's say it's all in your hands. Would you stick with it?
I think the biggest factor in that moment, everyone would want to be like, yes, of course. But I think the biggest factor would be if we had children or not. I want babies and lots of them. That is extremely important to me to procreate and be a mother. And if I was no longer if this guy was no longer able to make me a mother, that is a goal that is my biggest goal in life. So I would go pursue that goal. And I don't think because certain things happen that you should give up your biggest goal in life to pass on your genetics.
You're saying if that dream of becoming a mother became compromised after marrying this guy, you would consider a divorce?
Yes, because being a mother is like the one day, God willing, not right now, but like that is, I feel like, why I was put on this earth, to leave my mark, to make it a better place, but also to raise children, raise them to be good members of society, teach them the ways of the world. And if I wasn't able to do that, I would probably reconsider.
That's a reasonable dream to have, but you're kind of proving Brian's point, which is like it's till death do us part, as long as things go the way that I really want them to go.
Well, if a freak accident happens and somebody's half their body gets chopped off, those are things that aren't general, and I think you have to treat it when it happens.
What are the rest of the vows? Till death do us part, in sickness and in health.
Yes. There's certain
it would be God's will.
It
would be God's will. If you married a man and he was in some catastrophic accident where he can no longer have children, it is God's will that you do not have children.
I think this is the same thing, like trying to justify abortion with certain things where these are such extreme 1% of 1% that like this isn't the average guy is not getting his balls chopped off in a freak helicopter crashing into him. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. Divorcing is more likely. So I think if you gave me like a general situation,
what if you married a guy and like there wasn't some freak accident like that and he just happened to be infertile?
That happens to that's more realistic.
They would probably cover that he was fertile or not before you get married, right?
Do you want kids? I think a guy would know if he was fertile or not before getting married. I don't know how guys know if they're fertile or not.
We've got endocrine disruptors, we've got polyesters, we've got all sorts of things that are compromising. We've got all sorts of things that are compromising fertility in both the sexes, and it's like, he might be fertile before you marry him, but then like, who knows, something could happen. He might develop a condition or something within a few years of you guys marrying if his ability to procreate with you gets compromised, but there's no freak accident involved. Like, is it still a deal breaker?
I think these are such one-off cases that it's hard to like give such a strong yes, because like these are such freak random things. God forbid that happens to anybody.
Well, infertility
just
isn't
randomly happening overnight.
No. But here's the thing. You say, well, let's assume he was just infertile the entire time. I mean, he never tried to have a kid with another woman. Mm-hmm. He didn't try to have kids with you before marriage. So I don't know what the infertility rate is amongst men, but it's not so much of an outlier as some like catastrophic accident happening. So here's an interesting way to flip the situation. What if you guys got married and, God forbid, hypothetically, you found out that you were infertile and he wanted to divorce you? How would you feel about that? So
that would be really sad, but at the same time, like that's not just something that you just find out. Like as a woman, I would know if I lost my period, you go through changes and you would know. That's not something where you're like, you wake up, you're like, guess today's not.
But you could have your period anymore, and not be fertile.
Yeah.
True.
Aren't there a lot of women who still have their period and they're not fertile?
Yeah, you could have your period and struggle having children.
I feel and
also like some wombs aren't meant to carry.
She feels fertile.
I feel like I'm
She's real fertile.
I don't know, but honestly, the problem of fertility and all that stuff is tough because I don't support IVF or things of that nature. But I do just, flipping it to the positive side, I hope everybody is able to have the kids they want, and I hope nobody has to deal with the struggles of infertility because it's very, very difficult. So hopefully God blesses us all with abundance. Thank you.
Amen. So, I agree. I think we kind of got into the weeds.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay, it's real negative.
Yeah, let's move on to and hopefully
these are valuable. I just want to say, I know it is negative, but these are valuable, hard questions to ask because, look, in my opinion, I disagree with your take because I take that vow before God extremely seriously, right? And like, if my wife became bald or if she became fat or like,
those are looks though. Those are not fertility.
Some freak accident happened to her. She became infertile or whatever. It's like, for me personally, I'm still making a vow before God that like I have to honor. And like, I just wish more of our society was like on board with that because if we were, we wouldn't have such high divorce rates.
I'm not saying I'm against that. I'm just saying it's such a unique situation. I really just hope I don't run into that, honestly. I'll think about it when I get there.
In fatness and in health, right?
What do they say? What do they say in the UFC? Protect yourself at all times, gentlemen.
Yes.
Do not get married. Do not cohabitate. That's all I have to say.
Black pill.
You'll be a lot happier if you find a nice woman to marry and have children with.
See, well, women have an incentive to say that because.
What incentive do I have?
You did prove.
What incentive do I have to stretch my whole belly out, ruin my whole figure?
About why it's a bad contract.
Well, we're talking about marriage, not kids.
I said
I don't want to have a side conversation.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I don't think I proved his point because I'm not saying, I found something out. Yeah, I dip in a second, never think about it twice. I'm saying it's a very sad, tough situation, and I think it's not a black and white thing where it happens on the daily. No, not divorce. I'm saying if a freak accident happened and for me, fertility is the biggest thing, procreating. If that was no longer an option, that is a very unique situation rather than like if he cheats on me or if I just don't like him that much. Those are different situations.
But here's my concern a little bit about what you said, and I think Chase is sort of echoing me on this. You seem like you have your head on your shoulders pretty well. You're an intelligent woman. You're an attractive woman. It sounds like you're a pious woman.
Hell yeah, Brian.
I'll
piety.
Take it.
No, I'm not. But and yet though you don't have this gung-ho-ness when it comes to marriage that I would expect from someone who is godly and who is pious. And so that almost reinforces my position that marriage is a risky proposition for men.
What do you mean by gung-ho?
Like it is till death do us part in sickness and in health.
Death do us part, but you're like, well,
you guys gave me the well. You're like, well, what if a helicopter drops out of the earth and cuts his body in half? If you just asked me if I would stay committed to my man for the rest of my life, absolutely 1000% in the afterlife, same. But you guys threw out like, what if he gets hit by a truck and then his arm is stuck to his ear the rest of his life, and then he can only touch you like this? Like
that's kind of true.
You guys gave me the most whack situation ever. Give me a normal situation and like, but also it is a risk, and I do think that like marriage within my community is very different. I have a lot of friends that got married young, and I've seen a few people divorce, which is like really sad, but I am against like the no-fault divorce. I think that you should do every single thing that you can in your power, especially if you have kids, to keep that family unit together, because the nuclear family is the basis of this country, and I think the decline in the nuclear family is responsible for the majority of issues that we see, whether it's men, it's women, and it leads us to this question: who's more to blame for the downfall of society, men or women?
So let me. I just pulled up a stat here on male infertility. So apparently, male infertility affects approximately 7% of all men. So that's That's a decent chunk of men. But in humans, it accounts for 40 to 50% of infertility, and something like 15% of couples struggle when it comes to conceiving or so.
And to push it even beyond the infertility point, yes, I mean it was a crazy scenario that I was proposing. However, like, you know, you clearly articulated that your dream is to have kids and become a mother, which is an honorable and worthy dream to have. I salute
Thank
that.
you.
I wish more women had that. With that in mind, like, it doesn't have to just be a helicopter chopping off his balls. Like,
okay, point blank to answer your question.
He could also, like, you know, you guys could get married and in a couple of years he could develop cancer or something like that. And it could be the kind of diagnosis where, like, he's sick, but he's going to be sick with it for a long time, might compromise his ability to provide a bit, you know, especially provide for the family that you want to build with him. Like that kind of stuff can happen, you know. Do you
That's
stick
a better
around?
example. And in that example, it's an easy, absolutely yes. In sickness, in health, that's how I feel about it, that I would be kind of like, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but like, I would be grateful to be able to support somebody I love that much in sickness. Like if somebody, even my friends, when they're sick, I really enjoy helping them, making them food, things of that sort. So to be there for your spouse, your partner, your other half, you become one flesh when you get married, absolutely. And if in that situation, cancer, I have a lot of family friends who've dealt with cancer. It's very horrible, cancer. But if you can no longer have kids, okay, then maybe it's my plan to adopt and give some child who was given up by their parents the best life that they've ever had and could ever have. Absolutely, I would do that. And that's why I was just like, you guys, the example you're giving me is so freaking random. Like, if nothing's wrong with him except he lost half his body, I don't know, you know?
Sorry.
Okay.